Hey lady, I know that as a business owner and as a leader, you want to make life better for the people you love and for those who need your help. But here's the thing. Business is a spiritual game. Leadership is a spiritual game. Empowerment is an inside job. And empires, well, they get built by careful design. And the problem is neither school nor family or even good old intuition teach you how to win the game. So twice a month or more on this podcast, we're teaching you how to become the architect of your business and how to develop that mindset that's necessary for you to execute on your dreams. Because ladies, mastery and mindset are the jet fuel you need to ignite your own on-fire empire. Let's go. She's totally photobombing. Look at that.
Lucy, what are you doing? Oh, there she goes.
Okay, you gonna lay down? I'm not giving you anything to eat because you'll crunch it. You're coming back. This little face. Look at this little face. Is your energy up?
Oh, yeah.
Do you need to listen to some music?
No, I'm good.
No.
I'm ready.
Okay. Hey, well, today on the podcast, we are tackling the second element in what we call the business Trinity. The first one we did last time was on culture. And today we're rolling right into training. And so we're going to have a great discussion on why training is so important and how we define the main elements of training and what that looks like and what it truly is. And then we're going to talk about some tools, right?
That's right.
At the end
That's
here,
right.
some tools that we use and some suggested tools for you as you lead a staff, develop some training for your own organization. I don't care if there's only 2 of you in the organization. I think this training piece is absolutely critical to the success of any organization, no matter how large or how small.
So why is training so important? Why is that?
Oh, it's super important because, okay, the first and most obvious piece to me is training your people sets them up for success. You know, not too long ago, one of my daughters started a brand new job, and she was starting a job as a social media manager at an organization, and it was a pretty good sized organization. And I remember after her first couple of days at work, you know, I was checking in with her, how's it going, and how was your first day? And she said it was okay. I was kind of getting, you know, my bearings about me. But she wasn't given any training on the first day. Mm-hmm. And then after a few days, we were talking about it. Well, long story short, by the end of the first week, there was no training at all. She was basically shown to her desk, given a list of passwords to all the social media accounts, and told, there you go, have at it. And that's really rough because she didn't really... Sorry, Lucy's huffing. Are you huffing over there?
She's over there. She's fine.
She's always going to, you know, we're going to hear a little bit from the peanut gallery there. My daughter was having a really rough time because she didn't know what the expectations were, how they did certain things and processes and procedures within the organization. And it really wound up to be a very frustrating situation. She didn't know what winning looks like. So training is super important because if you don't train your people, and we're finding this, Jose, we've had a number of employees who have come in and said, oh my goodness, we're shocked at the training because we didn't have that at other organizations, right. Other law firms, other places.
Well, we want to set them up for success. That's really what it amounts to.
Right. And so without that training, I say it's like saying, listen, I don't want you to break the rules. You need to do everything the way I want you to do them, but I'm not going to tell you what the rules of the game are. So don't break the rules, but I'm not going to tell you what the rules are, right? Mm-hmm. That's kind of the feeling. So setting them up for success is a huge piece of it. Huge. I think the other piece of it is a lot of people, first of all, as a leader, you want to get to the point where you can delegate, because we can't do everything. As a CEO, I can't do everything under the sun. I mean, I could, but I wouldn't do it very well, and we wouldn't get the important things done. So a lot of people don't realize that delegation is training. That's what it is. A few years ago, and you'll remember this, Jose, we were at one of the state of California's largest government law firms. It was a firm that served mainly governments. And I was doing a training for its senior attorneys and its partners on burnout, attorney burnout, and how to beat that and manage it within the law practice. And I remember at the end of that training, you'll remember this too, one of the partners of this massive firm approached me and said, you were talking about delegating as one of the ways to manage burnout and don't do it all yourself. And he said, but I can't delegate because, and I said, why? Why can't you delegate? Because they never do it right. They never do it the way I want it done. And the question was, what kind of training do you give them? Because you really can't delegate. I mean, that's what it's all about, is training. And it takes time to do proper training, but it is that investment piece that once you invest in training and you show people how you want it done and you make sure they know how to do it, and we're going to get into that process in just a minute. Oh boy, that is, the payoff is, it's huge. I mean, we've seen that within our business.
Absolutely, 100%.
Huge. So making sure people are set up for success and they don't feel like you're setting them up for failure, being able to properly delegate. And really the other piece of training, one of the reasons it's so important, is when you train your people on your processes and particularly on the jobs that people are expected to do, you're also going to find out relatively quickly if you've got somebody who's in the wrong job. Because part of this training process, we're going to talk about in a moment, reveals really if it's not within their wheelhouse what you're asking them to do. So instead of having somebody on board for 4-6 months to a year and they're struggling through it and you're getting frustrated, if through a proper training process, you're going to find out whether or not this person really has the skill set, whether that's in their gifts, to do. And it doesn't mean you're going to necessarily let somebody go, but it might mean a part of the job that you've got for them or you've given them just isn't their thing. And maybe it's time to reassign tasks and duties. So that's another really important reason.
Oh, yeah. Well, identifying that they're in the right place, it's going to save a lot of time in the long run.
Oh, yeah.
Finding the right person for the position.
Finding the right person, and I think most of us want our employees to be happy and fulfilled, And so if you're in the wrong lane, so to speak, and it's just not your cup of tea, ain't nobody going to be happy. So another reason that it's so important that we've got training, really good solid training within our organizations is training is the way you ensure that your processes are being followed. And it's an insurance policy against breaks in the value chain. And what we mean by value chain, you might have heard that phrase or not, but value chain really is your process from beginning to end to delivering the value that you offer to your clients, your customers, the services you provide. So, for example, one of our businesses is a law firm. So the value we provide is we provide ongoing legal advice, right? And representation in lawsuits. Sometimes we go to trial or we settle a case. So the value chain looks like somebody makes a phone call to the office and they say, hey, I think I need an attorney. Can I get an appointment to come in and talk to someone? And then the process begins. They come in for an initial consultation. If they choose us as their attorneys and we mutually select them as well, accept the case, then the case is opened and we begin delivering legal services. And that chain starts from the intake through the assignment to the attorney and the paralegal on the case with management oversight and the lawsuit. Let's say it's a lawsuit. The case is opened. Documents are filed with the court. We're going in and out of the court asking for orders. We're trying to settle all the way to the end of the case, where we either settle the case or we have a trial and the issues are concluded one way or the other. All along through delivering those services, that's what we call the value chain. Now, in training, we train for each segment along the way in the value chain. If you don't train, there is going to be a break somewhere in your value chain in the way you are delivering services. And so what happens when there's a break in the value chain? Well, what happens is you fall down on the job, you don't deliver what was promised, or you don't deliver at all. You have unhappy clients, the expectations are not there. Quality control, maybe you miss a deadline on things that needed to be filed with the court. Hearing, so there's all kinds of breaks in that value chain that can happen. And training we're training on our series of processes all along the value chain, how we do things, and we're making sure that they're done consistently and that there's a checks and balances.
So if the training processes are followed, so what does an effective training process look like?
Okay, so this is something that I learned some time ago through my business coaching, and we have adapted it into our law practice and into our other businesses. And it's basically a 4-step approach. And I'm going to hit the main points of this today, but each one can go very, very deep, and we teach this in our Success Lab course. So the first one is demonstrate. It's where you explain and demonstrate to the person you're training the specific thing that you're training on, how you want it done. So, for example, let's say I am showing my intake specialist in my law firm, my client liaison, how we want the intake process done when somebody calls into the firm curious about our services and wanting to talk to an attorney. So I am going to sit down in real time and I'm going to explain how we want that process done. We also have our processes documented. Now listen, if you don't have your processes documented, and I wouldn't expect you're going to get it done overnight if you haven't started documenting for your business, but you have to start somewhere and start with the main things. Documenting takes a long time, but it is absolute gold for your business, because this is the path to having a business that can run without you in the event of your illness or you're away. As an owner and a leader, it is really, really critical to get to that point where it's not all on you. You're not the logjam. So I start with my process. So here, my client liaison and I would sit down and we would review our written process. When the call comes in, this is how you answer the phone. And then what happens? And then you ask these questions. And then what happens? And then you take their information. And so on we go through the process, and we are demonstrating. So we're doing it for them. Okay? So we're showing them, we're demonstrating and explaining exactly how we want that process done. Now, a lot of people will throw a manual at somebody. Don't do it. You can have the how-tos again in a process, but you need to show them exactly how you want it done. And then we like to say around our place, clarify and verify. You make sure you have clarified with your trainee that they understand what you've just shown them. You have them say it back to you how you want it done, okay? And you verify that they have truly understood every step of the explanation. Now, this is different than someone you expecting them to know what to do. Okay, so that's step one, is demonstrate and show them exactly what it is you want done, and exactly with explicit detail how you want it done. Okay, because if you say, hey, I want you to answer the phone when the phone rings,
well, they're just not going to know what to do.
No. I mean,
not even close.
That means, and then you hear them say, yo, what's up? Bennett and Bennett, how's it? Well, I haven't told him specifically how I want that phone answered. And, you can't get mad at somebody for answering. They're going to fill in the blanks is what I'm getting at, right? They're going to create their own narrative. Okay. So the second step in an effective training process is then mentor and coach in real time. Okay. So I got to tell you, here's the thing. If you're showing somebody what to do and they've got a process that is on the computer, which so many of our processes, the task is on the computer, do not, please people, do not, do not have somebody come alongside and sit next to you at your computer, and we call it driving, and you drive the computer and you say, okay, so watch, here's how you do it, and you're clicking around on the computer and they're sitting to the side watching. That you might as well, just call it quits for the day, because there's nothing being absorbed there. When you mentor and coach in real time, you are letting them drive. So again, let's say we've got a process, and Jose, when it comes to answering the phones, and Jose is our director of marketing for the law firm, and he is responsible for a lot of this training. So Jose, like, how would you train them on how to answer the phone? Is it from offside? Do you walk away? Or, where are you physically when they're learning how to answer the phone at the office?
It's simple. They're physically on the phone. They're in front of the phone, and they're training, whether it's a scenario that we run through or sometimes even a real call, which would come obviously after we have enough training.
And where are you? Where are you?
Oh, well, I'm off to the side. It would be like me showing someone how to drive, but me driving the car.
Right.
And them in the passenger seat. If I just said, here's how you do it. No, they need to learn. So you drive, and I'll just hang on for dear life on the passenger side.
Right. Yeah. So you're there.
But yeah,
it's not,
absolutely.
And okay, I got to tell this story because I remember my coach, Deborah, told me this story years ago when we were talking about training. And it was this piece. Step number 2, mentor and coach in real time. This is you let them start going through the steps and watching them do it. And you're going to do this at least 5 to 15 times. Okay? Probably more on whatever it is you're training. This is the most tedious part of it, but this is where the money is. Okay, so you're not going to feel like, I have so many things to do. You're going to resist that temptation and train with your person and mentor and coach in real time and watch them do it. So the first couple of times they're going to do it and they're going to mess up, forget where they are and all of that. And you're going to coach them through. After 3 or 4 times, they'll probably start to get it. But you want to sit with them until they have done it 5 to 15 times perfect in front of you. And so here's what Coach Deborah said to me, and this was the most beautiful analogy. She said, step number 2 is where people really tend to want to just, do kind of a half-baked job. And it's the worst thing in the world if you do not really pay attention and invest in step 2. And it is like, she says, it's like if I decided I was going to teach a young child how to ride a bicycle for the first time. And so let's say I take my daughter, perhaps she's 7 or 8 years old, and I take her outside and she's got a brand new bicycle, and I say, okay, Chloe, I'm going to show you how to ride a bike. Okay? So you just stand right there. Let me get on the bike. This would be like Jose driving the car for somebody. And I get on the bike and I ride it down the street and I turn it around and I come back and Chloe's standing there watching with her eyes wide open. And then I hand her the bike and I say, okay, did you see me ride the bike? Yeah, that's how you ride a bike. Now, here you go. Here's the bike. I'm going in the house. You let me know if you have any questions. How ridiculous would that be, right? That's what happens if you do not pay attention and truly do step number 2, mentor and coach in real time till you really, really know for sure they've got it. Oh, and remember the part where we talked about a few minutes ago, the value and the reason it's so important to do training is because it helps you find out if somebody really has the chops to do that particular task or that job. This is where it comes out. Because if after 5, 10, 15 times of them doing it and you've fully explained in excruciating detail how it's to be done, you've got the steps laid out, they understand it, or you think they do, and after 15 times they still can't do it, that's time to step back and go, okay, maybe this isn't their strength. And that's okay. I mean, it doesn't mean that, they need to lose their job, right? That might be a part of the job that somebody else is better suited to do. So that's something super important to watch here. If they're truly not getting it and not able to pick it up pretty quickly and start to do it to near perfection after quite a few tries, you need to reevaluate, because that's where it's going to show up. So see what I mean about it showing up pretty quick?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So the third step in the effective training process, so step number 3, this is scheduled check-ins and as-needed check-ins. So it's under the topic of scheduled check-ins. So once somebody, they're demonstrating that they've really got it and they can do it on their own, this is about not just walking away and saying, great, now I'm going in the house, go ride the bike. You've watched them ride it up and down the street a few times. Now I'm going in the house. This is a gradual process of first scheduled check-ins. So instead of sitting with them one-on-one every day for however long it takes, perhaps now we're checking in every 3 or 4 days. Okay, so that's the scheduled check-in piece. After you have done scheduled check-ins and they're still doing very well and you're answering some questions, because it's not all going to come up during training. There might be some things as they're doing the job that come up that didn't happen during the training. Okay, so this is the time where they'll be able to ask those questions, make those tweaks. And then as you move after quite a bit of time doing that to where you know for sure there's like very few questions, no questions, then you can go to as needed check-in. And that is they come to you when they have a question, right? So it's moving into scheduled check-ins into as needed.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
that's the process.
But here's what people do. They go from part 1, show them how you want it done, and maybe don't show them so great how you want it done.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see the senior partner at that law firm? Okay, I'm going to delegate this project to you, and I'm going to give you a general description of it. And you failed. It's not what I wanted. What happened? He skipped part 2 on the mentor and coach in real time, and for sure part 3 wasn't done, the scheduled check-ins, right? There might have been some as needed coming from the trainee going, hey, I don't know what I'm doing here. And then the frustration starts to build on both parts, right? So that's the third part. And then the fourth step to effective training is this is so important. This is all about making sure that the process is still being done the way you want it done. And it's a checks and balances piece. What did I call it, Jose?
You have to monitor.
Oh, that's right, the monitoring.
Yeah, that's right. And during peak performer status.
Oh, that's right. Okay, that's right. Thank you. So when you've gotten your trainee to peak performer status, right? They're doing it right. They've got it down. They're good at it. They've worked the kinks out. Once in a while, they'll ask you a question. You can't assume they're going to stay at peak performer status. So let me give you an example, and this is just. And we're always talking about this, right? Mm-hmm. With especially new employees. Can I just throw you under the bus?
Sure.
I will often say to Jose, okay, well, how are we going to know that she's still doing it? How are we going to know? And he's like, all right, I got to figure out a checks and balances piece of it. So we had somebody who worked for us a number of years ago, and we had this process that was to be done. It was a checklist at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day. opening the firm up, closing the firm up. And she was trained on it. She was doing really well. She was doing it every day. She was doing it every day for months and months and months. And all of a sudden, I mean, literally, what were we talking about? Like 8 months later, half the stuff wasn't being done. We're fine. We're discovering, we like to have a really warm, inviting environment for our clients, a safe environment. So there are a lot of moving parts, very intentional on purpose, so that when they come in the door, the lights are on, soft music is playing, things are very private, the office is kept a certain way, so that somebody under a lot of stress knows they're in the right place and we've got them. So those little details started slipping, and it was, what the heck? This was a peak performer. She nailed it. Clients were really just feeling the feels, right? Well, it's human nature. People tend to drop off. They stop using checklists and processes because they think they've got it. And what happens? Before you know it, your processes and your quality of your processes are starting to slide down. So this is the monitoring of all peak performers. I do it. Jose, you do it. We all have those moments where we think we've got it, and we need to be reminded. So this is about monitoring and creating some kind of a system of checks and balances. How will you know that this process and the way you've trained this person, that they're still doing it the way you want it done? That might be a report. It might be some kind
checklist or anything.
Right. Any number of things. And you might have to change it up. Some might become ineffective. So those are the 4 steps to truly, truly effective training. And I think the other thing to keep in mind is, don't assume that everybody knows how to train. So you may have a few department heads. Don't assume that they all know how to train. As we have had growing the firm and we've had more attorneys coming in and paralegals, I have been wanting to move out of the training end of things and have my supervising attorney take my place. Well, what's been happening is I have been coming alongside and training her to train in the trainings, if that makes sense. Because if they don't know how to train, so you got to train on training. If they don't know how to train, again, you're going to kind of set it up for a bit of a failure, and it'll be very frustrating. So keep that in mind. Start one small process at a time, and you'll have some pretty significant success going on in your business.
So what kind of tools would we use, or do we use? I could think of 100 different tools that we could use.
Oh, yeah.
And that even the ones that we use right now.
Yeah.
But we should talk about tools that you can use for training and doing effective training.
Right, because here's the thing. I don't know about you, but we haven't been in a position where we can hire a big outside corporate training company to come in and do all our
training.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice? The budget, we just don't have the budget for that. Nor do we have a full in-house training department. We're rolling towards that, but we don't have that at this point. So you might be a small business where there's 2 or 3 of you. There might just be 2 of you. There might be 10 of you, whatever, but you don't have the ability to bring in outside corporate. There's ways you can hack this. Let me just hit a couple of them. One of them that you're probably doing this already. When it comes to the types of software you use, like, I don't know, we're word merchants, right, as lawyers? So we use Microsoft Word, Word for Mac, that sort of thing. I'm not going to sit and train somebody on like all the nuances of Word for Mac. I don't have time to do that, right, to that extent. However, I'm not a real big fan of a bunch of Microsoft's, own training videos and articles, because sometimes they're kind of just a little robotic and hard to understand. So what do we normally do when we're stuck, how do you reformat this document or whatever the software is you use? You probably go to YouTube, right? How to. And there are so many content creators out there that are answering some of those questions on how to hack this, how to hack that. So YouTube has been kind of a secret weapon that we've used, where we've gone and found some really great content, and we'll take those links and drop it into our training curriculum. Is this dog making noise? What are you doing? Lucy, buzz off. Okay. Lucy the Akita wants to join in. All right. Okay. All right. Shake it off.
Shake it off.
Okay.
Shake it off.
Okay. Quit huffing. Are you done? We're talking about training. I know we're boring you. Anyway, so YouTube is a really great tool. Another thing is with the stuff that you do have, sometimes those software systems have their own training. So, for example, within our law firm, we have a law practice management system. It's basically the entire practice in the cloud with client portals and the billing and our timekeeping, all of that. It's a big Mac Daddy program. It's called Clio. We love Clio. Clio has an entire website called the Clio Academy, where they've got articles and they've got a wealth of training video modules with tests at the end, that we're able to take those modules and assign them to the different roles in the law firm, the paralegals or a new attorney, whatever it is. They've got some fantastic videos. That, and if you use Box or Dropbox, some of the cloud-based file storage systems, they have similar training. I know Box has stellar training as well. So those are great little shortcuts, so you're not reinventing the wheel. You just want to make sure that you're looking at them and you're picking the things that apply, or you're coaching through if there are segments of the training that do not apply to how you do your processes. So those are some really good ideas. Another one is going to be, and this is when I was first starting to, do the infrastructure to our business and create a lot of the procedures and processes, a quick shortcut to that is doing your own videos. And I don't mean fancy videos. Nothing fancy like this. Jose is our podcast director and producer,
but
and
you could still do videos, and not have to make anything complicated.
Right. It's not fancy like the video work we're doing here, but it's as simple as I don't know if you can do it in Zoom, but we use Microsoft Teams internally at the office, and it allows you to record videos of your meetings. So you just do a meeting with yourself. I've learned how to do that. Or on your computer, on our Macs, there's the photo booth and you can hit record on that. There's just a ton of ways to do that. And it's a quick way to say, hey, let me show you real quick, share your screen, how to do a particular process. So that is a really, really good way to kind of beat that when you don't have a big training team. So...
Oh.
Or you can get your mascot in here.
The other thing you can use is this.
Oh, that's true.
You can use your phone.
Use your iPhone.
And that's a great camera and tool to record your video.
Yeah.
And be able to get it up online, up to YouTube.
Well, and I think the key to this is you've got to get to the point where you just don't care how you look on camera. Because look, it's about executing here and getting the job done. Your people want to know how to do it right. People really want to do a good job for the most part if you're hiring right, which is our next podcast on the business Trinity is hiring. But people just want to know how to get it right. So, just get it recorded. It doesn't have to be fancy. Just turn on the camera, turn on that iPhone and go, okay, let me tell you how this is done. And you can even have that transcribed. I use that in Microsoft Teams. It has a transcription that automatically comes. So now I got a transcription. We can turn that into a written process. It's easy peasy. All right. Two more tools that I want to share with you that we use. I've just discovered this really cool cloud-based software called Trainual. Think of training manual. Trainual is, and we'll link to this in the show notes. But Trainual, we are actually just getting started with it now. After a number of years of documenting our processes, just using Microsoft Word, we call them wikis. So we have different wikis for all the different processes, and it's literally step 1, step 2, step 3. Well, as we've been growing, we're finding that is becoming a bit unwieldy, and sometimes we can't find the wikis, or somebody updates a wiki and stores it somewhere else, and it is getting a little bit hard to manage and keep the ship running tight. Trainual is really cool. It allows you to not only put all of your processes into one cloud-based system, and including uploading videos and links and screenshots and all of this, but it ties it into your organization where you set up the organizational chart, and then it also has a section where it allows you to store all of your procedures. Like in policies. So your employee handbooks and any policies that you create along the way, those are all in one place too. And so as things are updated, you can really restrict the permissions so you don't have too many cooks in the kitchen. It's beautiful. It's time saving. So I'm really excited about Trainual. So
definitely seems very powerful.
Very powerful.
So once we start digging into it, I'm sure we'll find even more benefits.
Absolutely. So we'll put the link to it, and I think we may have a discount for you for Trainual, but we'll put that link in the show notes. And then the last one, a thing that we use, and it's a training tool because of the planning aspect. We use Michael Hyatt's Full Focus Planner. And michaelhyatt.com, if you don't know who Michael Hyatt is, you need to know who Michael Hyatt and company are. But his team, he's out in Nashville, Tennessee. He's a productivity expert. We've followed Mike Hyatt for years. The Full Focus Planner is a complete planning system. It's about designing your life. It's not just a calendar. And we're all about designing your business, designing your life. And it helps with the training as you properly plan your training. And with training, you don't create your processes once and walk away. You want to plan and schedule for checking in on your processes. Maybe it's monthly, maybe it's quarterly, maybe it's 3 times a year, twice a year, whatever. But the question becomes, our businesses are changing, they're growing quickly. As you hit more and more successes, things change. The way you do things change. So are you reviewing your processes on a regular basis to tweak them, improve them, that sort of thing? So we found that the Full Focus Planner is particularly helpful as well in our training processes. So we'll put the link to Mike Hyatt's crowd.
And we've used it for how many years now?
5 years, I think.
4 or 5, yeah.
Right. And now, Mr. Hyatt, this is a pitch for you because we just totally believe in your product. But the Full Focus Planner, it's not an inexpensive planner. They're beautifully done, and there's a little training on how to use the planner.
Right.
But now we have every member of our team within our businesses. They all have their own planners, and they get new ones quarterly. That's how they roll, and it's beautiful how you can track your progress and your goals. And we love to celebrate those wins with each other, you know, at work and personally. It's just a beautiful tool. So we'll link you up to that as well. So that is training in a nutshell.
Yeah.
But I think as you implement these things, if you take, I'd say 2% of what was presented today, just take one thing, start with one process, and go and train. If there's an area where you're frustrated, there's some lack of deliverables happening in your business, your value chain is broken somewhere, you're frustrated. Here's the thing, if you've got employees where you feel like there's some aggravation developing, I want to encourage you to start with, it is a process and a training problem before it's a people problem. 99% of the time, we found this to be very true. Haven't we, Jose? That it is when there's something that's fallen apart, it's easy to say they're not doing their job. Why aren't they? Time out. Did you really properly, truly train them? 9 times out of 10, they still haven't really been trained all the way through. So identify one thing and tackle that and apply the 4 steps. I think I know it's going to be absolutely absolutely game-changing for your business. But if you want to see the success, you got to be willing to do what most people don't want to do, and that's put that time and investment into the training. So that is training. Yeah. And so that's number 2 in the business Trinity.
All right. And so next week, we'll be going over the 3rd in the Trinity.
And that's hiring. Okay. Just a short promo on the hiring.
Just a quickie.
I know, I could talk all day.
Because it'll be a big one. That's a big one, and it's one that I definitely know quite a bit of, since I've done a lot of the recruiting at the firm. So.
Yeah. Hiring is, I would say, if you don't get the hiring right, nothing else is going to go right. Right? I mean, well, you got to get your culture laid out, and you want to have your training plan in place, but please don't hire on the spot.
Okay, you're saying already too much.
I know.
Next week,
don't hire on the spot.
You're going to come back for this.
It's all about, you get this right. Believe us, we have been, how shall we say, perfecting this. There's been a lot of trial and error. Hiring is so key to your business. So can't wait to share that with you in the next episode. All right, Jose.
Absolutely. So
how are we doing?
Well, we're going to obviously put all the things we talked about, including links to Full Focus Planner, as well as Trainual. We'll put that in the show notes. And you can also check everything out on the podcast page, which is kellybennettesq.com/onfireempire.
Oh, wait, before we go, Jose, isn't there like a new phone number thing going on for the Ask Kelly segments we're starting to record? Do you want to talk about that?
Yes. Unfortunately, I don't have a phone number to share yet.
It's okay, but you can say that it'll be linked, right?
We're going to link it, and it'll be there. We'll also mention it in the next episode, but we're going to introduce a new phone number where you can call in to the show, just like you used to with radio shows, or you still can. You're going to be able to call in and leave a message, and you can leave a message with your questions, and they can be related, obviously, to today's topic about training, and we'll be able to answer your question if we pick yours, actually, to be answered. We'll answer it live on the show as well.
Yep. And here's the thing, though. If you call in, the only person listening to those messages is Jose.
Right.
All right.
We're not sharing that with the
public. So if you want to change your name and say hi, if your name is Kelly, you can call and say, hi, I'm Jose. It doesn't matter. It's confidential. But we are getting some questions, and I'm delighted to answer them, whether it's on business by design, whether it's business mindset, some of these topics we're talking about here, or it's a legal question. Feel free, because I'm putting my legal hat on from time to time and answering those questions. So we're here to help you on that, and so please go ahead, and Jose will link that number and give a call and record the question, and who knows, we may answer it for you on the air. All right, so until next time, remember to live with gusto and ignite your empire.